I miss the old-time stars. You know, the ones who wore clothes and had talent. Welcome back to another episode of Gen X and Millennial Memes, where every Friday we dig through our memories to try to find a few old laughs. Please consider hitting that like button, and if you haven't already, smash subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss all the new episodes. We got a lot of good memes and memories today, so let's get right into it. Today's generation will never know about the Board of Education. That is very true, and it's also very evident. Late night conversations hit different on these. I actually still have one of these white patio chairs. It's over 30 years old now. We all know the worst monster in movie history was Jenny. Yep, exactly. I just said this a few weeks ago. How I feel talking about the 80s to anyone under 30. Wish I had a nice butter churn, actually. I was today years old when I found out that the sax player in The Lost Boys was also in Tina Turner's band. The first season of The Wonder Years premiered in 1988 and was set in 1968. A show reflecting that experience for today would be set in 2004. How many of you remember this thermostat? I think almost everyone had this thermostat back then. So, exactly what did this Roadrunner do to you? I don't want to talk about it, Brad. I think he's finally got him this time. I always wanted to do this and sneak out of the house mysteriously. If you used one of these back in the day, chances are you're immune to everything. That's probably true. Who knows what this is? If you think you know what it is, drop your answer down in the comments. I'm just mad. I've waited my whole life for 2024. Not a single Jetson car in sight. I'm this old. Shout out to the mom and dad in A Christmas Story, just chugging wine for breakfast. In the 1980s, A&W tried to compete with the McDonald's Quarter Pounder by selling a 1/3 pound burger at a lower cost. The product failed because most customers thought the Quarter Pounder was bigger. This is why I don't argue online. It's a very good point, but it's sad to know that many people was that dumb back then. This is more like a news article I expect to see today. The 80s were lit because we knew how to turn up. We had mega bass. Yeah, I remember when they first started adding it to the portable cassette players and things. I think Sony was the first ones to come out with it. Mentally, I'm in a neon shopping mall at night in 1989. Friday and Saturday nights, those places would be packed out. Not everyone will get this, but if you know, you know. Yeah, some people might be needing those here pretty soon. Gaming in the 90s looked so intense. Yeah, I think they over-dramatized their commercial there a little bit. I'm still mad that Doritos took the window off the bag, because I always like to assess the seasoning level prior to purchase. Well, you know the real reason they took out the window, right? It's because on 3/4 of the bags, the window was basically empty, because all the chips had settled down to the bottom. Nobody wanted to buy these big empty bags, so they'd leave them sitting on the shelf. Well, once they got rid of the window, you can't see the chips anymore. It's Sunday evening in the 80s, and these TV dinners just came out of the oven. The family is in the den, ready to eat on TV trays, and watch Wild Kingdom, followed by The Wonderful World of Disney. Which one do you choose? I would probably go for the Salisbury steak. That was always a pretty good one. This is how we found our friends in the 80s. No need for phones. The everyday 80s refrigerator, including original floor. The stereo was found brand new, still in its original box. I wonder what something like that would go for on eBay these days. The fold-up table and chairs that at least one family member always had. This is true. My dad had a set of table and chairs exactly like this. We had that set for many years. The Generation X color palette. Fact check true. Just don't forget wood paneling. Shout out to the original Black Friday Bomb gangsters of the 1984 Cabbage Patch Dolls Stampede. That sounds like an actual competition. In my mind, I'm still 24, but my back is 55, my knee is 67, and my left hip turns 79 next week. Name an 80s movie quote that gives away the film without saying the title. Well, one of the most dead giveaway quotes ever is, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." But that's a whole sentence. So let's see if we can give a movie quote that gives away the film in one single word. Marty. I'm sure that everyone here knows exactly where those two quotes are from. So what movie quotes would you guys use? Drop it down in the comments. RPGs then. I need to defeat the Dark Lord and save the kingdom. RPGs now. I'm non-binary. It's sad, but this is a true example nonetheless. Never have I ever. Give yourself 1 point for each thing that you haven't done. I read through this list, and to be completely honest, I think I got 10 points. How many of you guys remember the old Black & Decker Dustbusters? Behold, the mighty chain lamp, a staple in every home in the 1970s. We didn't know it back then, but your teacher was definitely hungover when this thing rolled into class. Looking back, yeah, you're probably right. Here's the TV trays for the TV dinners that we saw earlier. These were our generation's virtual reality goggles. Our TVs were never stolen in the 80s. They would have sure took out Nintendo, though. How 80s kids dealt with stress. Not sure about how the one about copying a coin fits in here. That was one of those things that we did mostly just because we were bored. Of course, you could say the same things about the other 3 examples shown here. Remember seeing this in the living room? I remember seeing them at some people's houses. I'm gonna tell my kids that these are the Dallas Cowboys. Hey now, you can't talk about the Three Stooges that way. Have you guys heard about the real story behind the Three Stooges? Allegedly, the studio, and at least one of their managers, basically stole what should have been mostly their income because they always made them think that they was just one step away from being fired because they didn't know how much money that their shows were actually bringing in. Who grew up watching Frosty the Snowman? I'd say the majority of us here on the channel did. Name a store that you and your parents shopped at that doesn't exist anymore. Well, I would say Sears and Roebuck, but apparently there's still a handful of some version of Sears stores that exist, which is basically the same thing that happened to JCPenney's. So I guess the next biggest one that comes to mind is Montgomery Ward's. With that said, they do technically still exist on the internet, but it's in name only. It doesn't matter how old I get, I'll always still listen to 80s music. I'm so old, I got a phonograph record on a cereal box. This generation will never know the struggle. Yep, and if you weren't home and didn't have the TV ready, or if you set up the VCR to record it ahead of time, and just crossing your fingers that it actually works, if you missed an episode of your favorite TV show, you just missed it. The only chance you had of seeing it again was if you was able to catch it on the reruns. Back in my day, we ate ice cream out of toilet paper rolls and didn't complain. Did anyone actually like getting one of these popcorn tins as a gift? Actually, the popcorn usually was pretty good. And after you got done, you had this nice big metal tin that you could do a lot of things with. If you know where this room was, drop it down in the comments. I walk around like everything is fine, but deep down, I really want a Sears catalog. Well, these days, you can go on eBay and buy your Sears catalog, because the catalogs themselves have now become a collector's item. Some of you are too young to know what it feels like to take a ton of pictures and then have to wait 2 weeks to find out that they all sucked. Yep, pretty much. This sci-fi comedy warmed our hearts when we saw it as kids. Now it seems like no one has even heard of it. For some reason, this is true. But I know most everyone here knows exactly what movie this is. Now the song is stuck in your head for the rest of the day. You're welcome.
Walmart's Super Inflation Buster Sale blasts through the inflation barrier with big discount savings on hundreds of everyday items. Like Conair's Lots of Curls Curling Iron, now just $3.93. Renews its 6-ounce air freshener, only 31 cents. Kleenex tissue discount price to just 48 cents. Colgate 9-ounce toothpaste, only $1. And Cordite Heavy Gauge 26-gallon trash can liners, just 96 cents for the 20-count box. For Super Inflation Buster savings on hundreds of items. Shop Walmart now through Saturday.
Back in the day, you didn't just go up and tell someone how you felt. You spent hours making the perfect mixtape that would explain it. If someone gave you a mixtape, you knew it just got real. Guess what season's just around the corner? The granddad of White Claw. Kids these days will never know how serious field day was. What's with the 4th and 5th place tags? I'm not even sure if I remember the 2nd and 3rd place ones. 4th and 5th place have just been participation trophies. Why Fireball is so popular. I know what it's talking about, but the atomic fireball that they show here used to be one of my most favorite candies. Back some months ago, I was actually wanting some, and I looked at Walmart and a couple other stores, and nobody had them. I looked it up online, and they've actually been discontinued. There's still a few candy stores that you can buy them from, but they're a lot higher since they're now out of production. And I'll end the episode with this. We might be old, but we had great hair, listened to cool music, and drove the best cars. Please consider hitting that like button and share this video with your family, friends, and social media. I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe. This is Akorn, over and out.